Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Yes She Can project. I'm delighted to be joined by the gorgeous Rachel. Hello, Rachel.
Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me on here.
Oh, and thank you for saying yes. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Well, I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. So for anyone who doesn't know, can you give us a little bit of an introduction? Tell us who you are and what you do, please.
So I'm Rachel, and do you know, I really hate the word because it has such awful connotations. But yes, I am an entrepreneur. I run the tiny collection of companies of Tiny Box Maker, Tiny Marketplace.
Oh, it's all tiny.
It's all tiny, yeah. And just about to launch a new company, which I will tell you about later.
You heard it here first, people.
Yes, you did.
So with obviously you having so many companies under the Tiny umbrella, can you take us back to the inspiration behind the Tiny Box company in the first place? Was there like a light bulb moment for you that you can specifically remember?
It was all part of a journey. And you know, when you look back and you think, are things just meant to happen?
Definitely.
I had a lovely high-fly type job working around the world in software, and just through circumstance ended up in Sierra Leone. And for those people that, as you do, and for those people that have seen the film Blood Diamond, I was there at that time, not for the filming, obviously, but the era. So it's 1997. There was a military coup on.
Okay.
And I had no idea about the levels of poverty, about roadblocks. You know, It was such a culture shock. But the main thing that hit me was that Sierra Leone was getting so much aid,
right?
But due to the politics and many ministers, people on the ground weren't getting anything. So it inspired me to sort of start a very early fair trade company.
Right.
And then through really lots of unfortunate circumstances, I got very ill. It took me years to sort of rehabilitate myself. And once I was strong enough, I sort of went back to that original project.
Yeah.
And it was my sister that said, you know what, if you're getting sort of fair trade jewellery, you can't put it in plastic Chinese manufactured boxes.
Yeah.
It's just not. It's not the right message, Rach, being a marketing expert, my sister being a marketing expert. So I started looking for boxes and I couldn't find any. And at the time, you had to buy like a minimum of 1,000 units. They'd tell you it was 10 to 12 weeks. And I said, well, what about all of the other jewellery companies out there that are small, that just want to buy some boxes online?
That are fair trade.
That are sustainable, ethical.
Yeah.
And it was finally at the Spring Fair trade show in Birmingham that I just remember sitting on the floor after yet another failed attempt at boxes and just going, you know what, I'll do it myself.
Oh, imagine if someone had captured that. That would have been incredible.
So that was the start.
Oh, bless you. Well, I don't know if anybody knows already, but you appeared on Dragon's Den. And have since been voted the most successful female entrepreneur to come out of the whole series today, which is incredible. You secured funding from Peter Jones and Theo Profitas. Can you talk us through how terrifying that, well, it might not have been terrifying, but I'd have been terrified, how terrifying that experience was and the kind of emotions that came along with that?
Firstly, what did they do to my hair?
What was wrong with your hair? I watched the clip. There was nothing wrong with your hair.
You didn't notice that I turned into a giant frizball with all the makeup that had run down my face.
Oh, this is behind the scenes gossip, folks.
So I started Tiny Box. It was sort of doing okay, and I popped in to see a friend of mine in the local town, and met this guy in there who was out buying a box. You just couldn't make this up. It turns out that he's this guy, Robin Banks, who at the time was a very famous broadcaster.
Is that his real name, Robin Banks?
No, his real name's Christian.
Okay.
But his stage name was Robin Banks, and he did the Virgin Breakfast Show.
Right.
And then he moved from the Virgin Breakfast Show to Kiss
FM.
Kiss Breakfast Show. Yeah. Kiss FM. It was Kiss 100 back then. But anyway, he had a bit of an unfortunate drug incident and hijacked a radio station and broadcast things that shouldn't have been broadcast.
My God.
So he'd gone into rehab and he'd come out of rehab, and we were chatting in the shop, and he said, I just want a normal job, Rach. So why don't I come and work with you? Well, not one of my best business decisions, but I was like, oh, okay.
Was he just a stranger? Had you literally never seen him before?
I'd never seen him before. I met him while trying to buy a box.
Sure, come into business with me.
So anyway, after about 6 weeks, it became very clear that he was very used to the public eye, and sitting in an office working all day was just not his thing. Okay. So he applied to Dragon's Den and didn't tell me, because he thought that he could kickstart his career back in the public eye by being on the show, but also not feel bad leaving me because I was happy.
You'd got your funding.
Yeah. So I didn't know any of this until the BBC phoned the office, and luckily he was in that day, and they phoned saying, oh, we're doing our research. We've got your application for Dragon's Den. Can you just talk us through what you want the money for? So Robin behind me is just going, blag it. So I did. And at the time, we'd been trading for about 6 months by then. So this is 2008. We'd got nothing patentable, no trading history other than the 6 months. Right. No industry knowledge, because my background was software and his was radio. So actually nothing investable at all. so
just treat it as a day trip.
Exactly that. If you go in with no expectations, you
can't feel let down then, can you?
No. So I just said to him, well, I'll do it, because it's a 5-minute, 10-minute marketing opportunity. And I never thought for a minute anybody would actually say yes. So we go to, they were filming at Pinewood Studios, so we go to Pinewood Studios, and they do our makeup and our hair and everything, and you're not allowed to leave the green room. You have to stay in the green room all day, because they don't want you to sort of bump into one of the dragons, or, in the toilet or something. You're kept completely separate. And then once people have gone through to see the dragons, they're not allowed back in the green room. But
let's be clear, you were allowed access to a toilet at some point.
And tea and coffee. So they've done our makeup and everything, and then we're there all day till about 7 o'clock at night, and then they said, sorry folks, run out of time, you'll have to come back.
Oh no.
So you've built yourself up, you've gone through all the anxiety.
Oh my God, I'd have fainted. I think I'd have been like, I cannot, my heart cannot go with another day of this.
So about 10 days later, we're back there, same process.
So it's not like it's the next day?
No.
Oh my God.
It's rebooked and rescheduled. So yeah, we're back there. And by then I was just like, do you know what? Whatever.
Yeah, I really don't care whether I get it or not.
No expectations. And Robin, from being, a well-known broadcaster, had been saying to me, it's really important you don't show any nerves. People will hear it in your voice. You've got to stay focused. It was a really hot day. So we're in there all day. Again, we get called about 5 o'clock in the evening. And that is why my hair by then is just a frizball. I've got no makeup left. It's literally run down my face.
Oh my God.
We walk into the dragons, we just get these 5 really stony faces, and I think one of the first clips you see on the show is me looking at Robin whilst Robin's going and I'm like, I'm looking at him, say, what's up with you?
You told me to be calm.
Yeah, and then they hammered us for 2.5 hours, really hammered us.
2.5 hours, is that how long it is?
Yeah, and then it's condensed down to 10 minutes. And then Peter sort of said yes if Theo went in, and Theo said yes as well. And the BBC crew was saying, you don't look very excited.
Because I'm knackered. I've spent 2 hours being shouted at.
And because I never saw it coming. I just, so I would think I was just shell-shocked.
Oh, so how did that develop from there in order to help your business, if that makes sense? Do you have to have like special meetings and all this malarkey, or do you just literally swap contact details and then they help you with your business as from there?
Yeah, it doesn't quite work like that. No. So it depends which dragon you get, because different dragons play it different ways. We had a meeting with I had a meeting.
Had Robin gone by that point?
Robin did turn up for one meeting, but he had moved on by then, which was fine. It was amicable, it wasn't it wasn't uncomfortable or anything. But so we had a meeting with all of Theo's team and all of Peter's team, and the whole afternoon they sort of examined every part of the business in their sort of due diligence. Mm-hmm. And at the end of it, they said, do you know what? We're going to forward you the money and leave you to run the business because you know what you're doing.
Wow.
So we'll give you the investment and we will effectively be silent partners.
Okay.
So that's what they did. Mm-hmm. And it was aired in the September of 2008.
Yeah.
If anybody decides they're going to go on the show and people tell them that their website is absolutely fine and it's not going to crash, don't believe them. Because just about everybody that I've spoken to that's been on the show, the website has crashed within minutes.
Of like the episode airing, because so many people have gone on to check you out, I bet.
At the same time, yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And for the next few weeks, the business was just utter chaos. And I remember saying to somebody, it was like being on a black ski slope without knowing how to ski.
Oh my God. Feels like every business journey, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
Oh, bless you. Well, people might look at you, Rachel, and think, this woman is due to turn over £10 million this year, see all of your successes, see how far you've come, and assume that, it must have been an easy ride for her. It must have been, I don't know, parents investing, or, how some people are kind of born into money and born into success and have more opportunities than some of us do. But that couldn't be further from the truth for you. Can you talk us through some of the challenges that you've faced over the years with the Tiny Box company?
I was born with a silver spoon. I don't know what you're talking about. I have certainly had my share of challenges. Anything that I say, I want to highlight that my parents weren't bad people, just bad parents.
Yeah.
They shouldn't have had children. So I can only describe us as feral children.
Yeah.
In and out of education. I'd lived in 13 different houses and been to 9 different schools by school leaving age, so there was no consistency. But I did take myself through university, didn't get any help from my parents.
Wow.
And got myself a degree in business studies. Mm-hmm. So I did have a good advantage there. And when I set up Tiny Box, I had no idea what I was letting myself in for. I thought it would be lovely to have a nice lifestyle business. My health had been pretty rubbish due to an unexpected operation, which went wrong. They couldn't tell me what went wrong, but that was 4 years of my life gone, So when I started Tiny Box, I actually wasn't well enough to be working full time anyway. So I thought, well, nice lifestyle but business. Never confessed that to the dragons. But yeah, you look at people that run businesses and you don't think for a second that actually you've got to be the master of every single trade.
Yeah,
you've,
absolutely.
You've got to be a marketing expert, a finance expert, a brand development expert, a pricing expert, you know.
Yeah.
And naive doesn't even come close. and I look back now at some of the stuff that went wrong. Some of it my fault, but a lot of it I couldn't have predicted. So I think it was about 2008, 2009, I got blacklisted from Google. I didn't even know you could. Bear in mind, we're an e-commerce shop.
Yeah.
So you are totally reliant on those Google searches.
Absolutely.
And suddenly, one day, I just typed in our, Tiny Box Company, and we'd gone from Google. We'd gone from every single listing. I was like, how? And Google don't tell you they've blacklisted you, or they didn't back then. You just disappear.
Oh my gosh.
And it took me 3 weeks. And of course, no business for 3 weeks is enough to kill most e-commerce businesses.
Yeah, definitely.
And somebody had hacked in and written a load of white code over my website that was abusive, a lot of really graphic data, knowing what they were doing, which of course the Google bots pick up.
Yeah.
And so we got struck
like
off.
Spam. Okay.
Yeah. So we had to appeal to get our website back up and running. And yeah, it took weeks, and I was at my wit's end.
Have you ever found out who did that?
No, I don't know if it was a competitor or who, in the meantime, a warehouse caught fire. We lost a lot of stock. I was on the phone to a customer at the time, and one of the ladies that worked with me came running in, and she said, the warehouse is on fire. And when something just doesn't sink in. And then I sort of said to the customer, I really ought to go, because I think we've got fire.
They're flapping about for some reason. I don't know what's happening. Have we won on the raffle?
And I went outside, and the warehouse at the time was like across the courtyard of our office. And my dad was actually with me that day. And I just stood there while all the flames came out of the roof.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. It's not funny, but it's the way that you're explaining it.
And my dad just goes, because he was ex-fireman, from years and years ago. He's like, don't stand there, dial 999. Anyway, luckily, there was a welding business on the same industrial estate, and they had just about every bit of fire equipment you could have, and they literally ran in there and blasted it out before it took the rest of the industrial estate out, basically. And what had happened was that when the warehouse was built, health and safety regulations hadn't been applied. It was a really hot day. Something to do with hot days and me, isn't there? It was a really hot day. And one of the halogen lights in the ceiling overheated, caught fire, and dropped down onto one of the boxes.
Oh, so then it's like kindling for the whole place then?
Yeah, exactly. And it just went.
Oh, no.
That same year, I walked into the office one morning, tried to walk into the office, opened the door, and it was literally, when I say flood, I'm not talking about a little bit of water on the ground. I'm talking about my chairs floating.
Oh, good Lord. Did you just stand there again and be like,
Well, no, because when I opened the door, it just... we lost so much stuff. Company records, computer equipment, all sorts.
Oh, God.
So it was kind of like starting again and wiping the slate clean. And I think that between all of what was happening, and because of the business growing so quickly, I just ended up burning out. And literally for about 6 months, I was running the business from my bed. I just couldn't get out of bed. I had no energy. I was talking to customers on the phone from my bed, doing all the emails from my bed. And how I didn't quit then, I don't know.
Mhm. Did it enter your mind?
Oh, massively, massively. I'd sort of rebuilt relations with my parents. I was staying with my parents.
Mhm.
And I just remember having quite a few massive breakdowns with my dad, just bawling my eyes out, going, I can't do it. Can't do it. Am I ever going to have the energy to
Almost
push on
start
with it?
again, yeah.
Yeah. That went on for months and months.
What was it that got you through, would you say? Where did you find the strength from to bounce back and continue?
Do you know what? When you've hit rock bottom, where do you go?
Yeah.
You can either just try and just take one step at a time, one day at a time,
Yeah.
and slowly get yourself out of it. By 2011, I'd started to get myself out of it. And then my dad got leukemia. And of course, because I was living with them, I then became his sort of carer.
Mm-hmm.
And my mum went into hospital with what we thought was a urine infection and died within 8 weeks.
Oh my God.
So my dad, the chemo for his leukemia was horrific. And, I think the worst day he puked 18 times in one day. So being his main carer through that, and then going through all the horrific stuff with my mum, and and then a full investigation as to how she'd been in hospital for 8 weeks and just dying, and then the funeral arrangements, it was a dark time.
I'm not surprised. And while still having to run your business all at the same time.
While still trying to run my business, yeah.
Oh my God. It's no wonder you didn't throw in the towel, to be honest with you.
I don't know how I didn't. As I say,
No.
literally just by taking each day as it came and just
surviving, essentially.
Surviving, yeah.
You're very open, Rachel, about the personal struggles that you've had and the trauma that you've faced. Has there ever been, is it in your personality to kind of sit back and think about and really reflect on how much you've been through and how much of an inspiration you are to other female business owners like myself? Because we will look at you and think, oh my gosh, she's incredible. Look at all she's been through. Look at what she's achieving right now. Is it something that you do regularly to sit back and reflect on things?
No, I'm a forward-thinking person anyway, so I tend to always be looking forward. But my husband's got a lot to answer for, About 3 years ago, we were out at a local craft fair.
Yeah.
And there was a lady there, and she'd got her stand with her candles. It was like candles and diffusers and things. Mm-hmm. And I went over. I said, "Oh, hi." She said, "Hi." I said, how's the day going?" I didn't know her. I was just, chatting. Yeah. And she said, "Oh, it's my first one. It's really scary. And it's my first day in business." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, good luck with it. I hope you have a good day." Yeah. And walked away. And we got outside, and my husband just looked at me. He's like, "Why did you do that?" So, "What do you mean?" He said, "She opened up to you. She said, 'It's my first one. I'm really scared.'
Yeah.
And at no point did you say, 'Well, I've done that and you'll be okay because I've done it.'"
Yeah.
You just didn't give her any of your time. And I was like, gave me a right bollocking. And it was a real wake up moment for me, because I was like, well, she doesn't want to hear my story.
She would.
Why on earth would I stand there talking to somebody I don't know about me? Mm-hmm. And he said, but that's not the point, because if people know the journey that you've been through, they then makes it more real to them and achievable. Yes, exactly. That. So absolutely. Since then I have had a different perspective.
Yeah. But you help a lot of business owners, don't you, with the different arms of the Tiny Box. So you do the Tiny Clinic, which is like a Q&A session, isn't it? Could you tell us a bit more about that?
So it was, I don't know how it happened. It's just one of those fluky moments. But I got nominated for the NatWest Every Woman of the Year Entrepreneur Award.
And won it, everyone.
Yeah.
You've got to say that bit.
But it was whilst we were talking about it that I sort of thought, do you know what? I am so privileged now. You know, the business is doing well. I've got a great team around me. We should be giving back more. So how can we give back in a constructive way that isn't just giving to charity or whatever?
Yeah.
How can we do it meaningfully? So most of our customers are cottage industry in some way or another.
Okay.
And a lot of them have business struggles, especially during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So we said, well, why don't we dedicate Thursdays to running doctors' clinics, but for businesses?
Yeah.
So people can book in a session free of charge and just talk to us about anything. And if they want regular mentoring on those Thursday sessions, that's fine.
Yeah.
Or if they just want to come in and talk about a specific project or product or problem, that's fine. Or if they just need somebody to give them a bit of a lift on that day because they're feeling down, then come and talk to us. So I run that with my sister, who is a marketing expert and knows way more about marketing than me. And we do that every Thursday.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
And it's not just open to our customers, it's open to anybody that
needs it.
Wants help. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because I would imagine, especially after everything that you've been through, don't think there's going to be many questions that you're going to get asked that you don't know the answer to, or experience that you've not had that you can't help somebody with.
Oh, I don't know.
You're doing that thing again, Rachel.
I do get asked quite random questions at times.
Yeah.
I have to be careful what I say because some of them, the people involved would know instantly.
Yeah, no, that it was them that asked the question.
But yeah, I do get asked weird stuff.
Oh, bless you. Well, actually, you just touched upon the pandemic, obviously how difficult it's been for people, but how difficult has it been for you and the Tiny Box company? Like, for example, for me as a small business, it was terrifying. So I can't even imagine the responsibility that was on top of your shoulders with having lots of staff and running such a huge organization. What did you do to kind of pivot? Oh, I hate that word, but let's just use it anyway, to pivot. Did you have to like meet with your team and then you all get together and suggest, or was it kind of down to you?
So I'm going to say fortunately, it wasn't fortunate, it was unfortunate. But in 2018, 2019, I got diagnosed with lung cancer. And at the time when they told me, I didn't know if it was terminal or whether they would be able to fix, treatable or whatever. So I had to change the business model then anyway to sort of make us very adaptable to change, you know, because I was like, okay, well, what happens if I get taken out of the business? What happens if it is terminal and I don't have very long? You know,
gosh.
How do we deal with this?
Yeah.
So we'd already, you know, in the textbook sort of scenario, you've got the very bureaucratic organization. And then we'd already tried to keep the business very organic. But on experiencing that, it meant that we kept a really organic, flat structure, and that effectively everybody in the business had a voice. Not only that, the lung cancer was fine, by the way. They cut out the bottom third of my lung, and it was all good. Touch wood.
Got some.
But also where we had the offices, we're very remote and always suffering from power cuts and, you know, Wi-Fi outages.
Right.
So the whole business was in the cloud, and all of the office staff had laptops. Right. Well before any pandemic.
Yeah.
So Boris comes along 23rd of March, it's ingrained in my brain, and says, send everyone home. And everyone in the office, I could straight away.
You were like, yes, I've been prepared. I'm a clever businesswoman. I sorted it out before.
Pure fluke, but
can you stop saying everything's fluke? It's skill.
Yeah, right. But, obviously, production we couldn't send home, and distribution we couldn't send home.
Yeah.
But I remember talking to our finance team and saying, okay, what is our cash burn rate per month?
Right.
i.e., how long can we survive if we have no income coming in?
Yeah.
And they gave me numbers, and we were like, okay, so we're going to be fine for 3-4 months. So hopefully, if the surely by then the pandemic will have calmed down. And this is
that's what we all thought, wasn't it?
Yeah, and this was pre any furlough offers or anything like that. Okay. This is like cold hard situation. If I've got to pay everybody, and pay everything, can we survive? So we're like, yeah, great, we're fine for 3-4 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at home at the weekend, and you know when something's just bugging you and your gut's saying something's wrong.
Yeah.
So I did some digging and realised that our finance team hadn't talked to purchasing, who had committed us to £500,000 worth of orders. So suddenly our safety net was just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in the sitting room with my husband and just going, we are fecked. Absolutely fecked. And
was that another one of the situations where you just stood there and just looked out as if to say, surely not something else?
I stood there for a minute and then I just burst into floods of tears, because I was just like,
bless you.
Everything we've worked for, we are now going to potentially lose.
Mm-hmm.
So husband, being a very different practical personality to me, was just like, calm down, dear.
It'll be okay.
And after I'd sort of had my tantrums and screamed at him like it's his fault, but it wasn't, obviously.
But it's easier to do that, isn't it? Because they're there at that point.
So after I'd done all of that, I just sort of said, okay, well, how can we pivot the business? And what I realized was that, we knew that we had a lot of small businesses as our customers, but actually they'd lost their livelihoods because they sell in craft fairs, Sunday markets, church stalls, and suddenly all of their income was completely gone. So we were like, okay, well, what can we do to help them?
That's just so wonderful that was one of your first thoughts.
Well, it was like, it's a circular system, isn't it? If we can help them, then they'll need packaging, and then so we're helping them, but we're also helping us and making sure that we can employ all the staff still and everything else. And we knew that as a company, what we're really good at is dispatch.
Okay.
Getting stuff out and getting it out
quickly
with the help of the courier companies that actually work in the time scales that we've said we're going to. So we said, let's create a platform, a marketplace for the customers, for our customers, that is like Etsy or Not on the High Street, but where we do all the dispatch for them, because at the time nobody could get out of their houses, or they had to go and queue at the post office, or or they didn't have time to build a website. So we were like, tell us where your products are, we'll send a collector in to go and get the products from you. And then you just worry about making the products. We'll get listed on the website and we will dispatch them to the customers.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
So within 5 weeks, we'd created a online marketplace platform. Tiny marketplace.
Oh my God. And that's still something that you run at the moment?
Yeah, we're building on it.
Wow. Goodness me. I feel like I've been on a roller coaster with you so far, Rachel. This interview is so full of ups and downs. It's incredible. So
Sorry about that.
It's fun. Well, I say fun, but I didn't experience it. I'm sure it wasn't quite as fun for you.
No. I've been so lucky in lots of ways. I really have.
Oh, I love your can-do attitude as well. It's like no matter what life throws in your direction, you always seem to twist it in a way where you're just so resilient, and you're just like, you know what, yes, I can do it. You can't even begin to describe the things that you have experienced and list them. People wouldn't believe you. And then it's like, but you still keep pushing on. Not only that, you still keep helping other people. And I think that's just amazing.
Thank you, but it's not. Because what's my choice? My choice, and most people's choice, is, well, you either just take each day as it comes and try and get through it, or you sit in a dark corner feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
And that's not going to help you or anybody else.
No.
So actually, a lot of the time, you don't have the choice. You've just got to try and get on with it and cope with it as best you can. And if you get through another day and it's not so horrific, then that's got to be good. Yeah,
absolutely. It's just about having the strength to carry on, really, isn't it? And the strength to put yourself in that mindset to think, let's just get up tomorrow, see what tomorrow brings, kind of thing.
And whilst a lot of the things that I've experienced have been horrific, on a day-to-day basis, I love what I do. I love the team I work with. I jokingly said to my husband one day, I feel like I'm going to playgroup today because I'm going off to play with all my friends. And I remember being in Malta with one of my best friends a few years ago, and I was moaning about work and saying, it's a nightmare at the moment, and this and that. And she said, well, okay, what's the alternative? And I was like, oh my God, I'd have to go and get a job.
Don't take it away from me. I just want to moan just for a little minute.
But it was the reality of, I'd have to go and get a job, and what would I do? No one would employ me.
Oh yes, I've turned over £10 million. I don't think you're going to have people rejecting you, are you?
But no, seriously, what job would I do?
I think it's what job would make you happy, because you are happy in doing what you do. It'd be so difficult to find something that would bring you the same kind of joy working for somebody else.
Yeah, but I kind of don't have a lot of skills, because the skill is running a company. So I couldn't go and get a job as an accountant or a solicitor or do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm quite a good cleaner, but
as we talked about before. What would you say, Rachel, has been your biggest highlight so far?
What, of my career?
Yeah.
I think the biggest highlight is, so I'm passionate about people. And I think that the biggest highlight for me is seeing people come into the business that, through no fault of their own, have had their confidence completely knocked out of them, have failed in the school system or whatever, and to see them really achieving. Now, that's my highlight. I mean, our marketing manager joined me aged 18. She'd not had the greatest start in life, that there'd been issues, and she just worked hard, and we built her confidence and built her confidence. She now runs a team of 9 as our marketing manager, and she said, could she do a diploma in marketing? And we were like, sure, we'll pay for it, but you've got to put the work in and do it in your own time. And she did, and she passed with flying colours. Our customer services manager left school with, I think, about 2 GCSEs, and again, no confidence at all. And she is a brilliant manager. And our ops manager the same, and seeing people achieve so much more than they ever believed that they could. is just the best journey. It really is.
Oh, and the best feeling, I bet, that you've been instrumental in making that happen in an changing somebody's life effectively. That's what you've done, isn't it? That's really, really huge.
And sometimes it's got to be tough love. I mean, I remember there's one of the guys in our warehouse. I knew his dad, and his dad sort of said, "Can you give him a job? He's not had a good ride."
Okay.
And he hadn't, but we were talking in the car park one day, and he was feeling really sorry for himself.
Yeah.
And I said to the warehouse guy, I said, "You've got to get over it." And he looked at me and he said, "Well, what do you know? You've had such an easy life." And because
well, actually,
because they come into work and they see me being, like the big boss and having a nice life.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, let me stop you there. From age 8 months to 3 years old, I was in a children's home. Yeah. I then had, a very unhappy childhood, a lot of domestic abuse, a lot of a lot of issues in my family. I haven't had it easy at all. Mm-hmm. I said, but you have a choice.
Yeah.
And he sort of stood there processing it all. And he was like, oh, and suddenly it was a realization moment for him that he also had that choice. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's about tough love as well.
And it's about a mutual respect thing, isn't it? I think sometimes if somebody appears so different to you, whether that be background, childhood, whatever it is, you don't feel like you're on the same wavelength as them, and you don't feel like they get you the same way. So I think instantly when you told him that, he gained respect for you straight away, because he knew that you knew what he'd been through at the same time, and you were both basically the same.
Yeah.
But like you say, you had chosen to do something with your life, and he had to do the same thing.
Yeah. And I'm sure he will. He's coming on leaps and bounds.
Brilliant. See, again, another person's life you're going to be changing. Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah, I hope so.
Brilliant.
But it's then that it makes it a bit more worthwhile, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because the hardships that you've faced, you are giving back in a way to make other people's hardships in their future a bit easier to deal with, because you're giving them a good start, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I don't understand the world. I don't understand the universe. But for me personally, I kind of feel like we are here for a reason.
Absolutely.
Whether it's reincarnation or whatever, I don't know. I don't have the answers. But I feel from things that have happened to me that we are here for a reason.
Yeah.
And if in your lifetime, whilst you're here, you can make that tiny difference to other people's lives of making it just a tiny little bit better, then that's got to be a good thing. And
isn't that incredible what you just said? You said the word tiny twice. Yeah. And that is what your company is called. See?
Because the first company was called Tiny Difference, and that was, we can't change the world, but we can collectively make a tiny difference.
Yeah.
And that's where the rest of the tiny empire came from.
All about the tiny. Yeah. What's the best piece of advice that you would give to women in business from your experience?
Have you ever come across Mel Robbins?
Oh my God, she's incredible.
Yeah,
she really is, isn't she?
Yeah, she's very inspirational. But one of the things that she talks about is the 5-second rule, and I've always used a different terminology for it until recently. Hearing of her 5-second rule. Yeah. But we all have this monkey brain going in the background all the time, And as humans, we are built for survival mechanism. Our brain is built for survival mechanism, as is our body. Yeah. So as soon as the brain thinks we are outside of our comfort zone, it starts this chatter of negativity to protect you. It's about protection. So it's learning to switch off that chatter, or following Mel Robbins' rule of like, well, don't even listen to it. You've got to, if you come up with an idea, do it within 5 seconds.
Yes. Otherwise, you're only going to change your own mind, aren't you? Talk yourself out of it.
You're going to talk yourself out of it because your brain is protecting you, or thinks it's protecting you. So my best advice is either try and turn down the chatter dialogue, or if you can't, do it before the chatter dialogue kicks in.
Yeah. Or just do it anyway.
Yeah. Because what have you got to lose? When you are reaching the end of your life, all the people that I've spoken to that, you know, I lost both parents, I lost my sister last year. When you speak to them, they don't talk about regrets of what they've done. They've talked about what they haven't done.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. You should write that on a tiny t-shirt.
Yeah. So what have you got to lose?
Yeah.
What have you got to lose just by going to yourself, do you know what? I'm going to give it a try. If I fail, so what? You know, every time I get one no, I am closer to that yes. Yeah. Because it's a journey. And every time you do fail, you are learning anyway.
Yeah. I don't really think we ever really fail, because what we get given when we get that so-called failure is a lesson to learn for the future. So I think whichever way, it's a win, isn't it? Because if you don't get what you want to get in that particular moment or at that particular time, then you have learned more than you could have learned had you have got that yes.
So I was talking to her, the young marketing manager yesterday. She's 28 now. And she's got a great team. But she was like, I really want them to fail, Rach. I'm like, okay. She said, well, we've hit a wall of creativity and they're not taking risks. Okay. So I want them to fail.
Yeah.
to stretch the boundaries and then say, well, okay, well, that didn't work, but I need them to fail.
They're doing too well. How dare they?
But doing too well within such tight boundaries. She wanted to take them outside of that and experiment more, and in so doing have some failures so that they can then say, okay, well, that didn't work, but if we tweak it and try this,
it sparks new ideas, doesn't it?
I think one of the best books I read was on, I don't know if you've come across it, Black Box Thinking.
I'm not sure. I think I've heard of the title.
Yeah. So in most businesses, there's like this whole blame culture, especially a lot of the public sector. There seems to be horrific blame culture. And as a result, a lot of people won't make decisions.
Right.
In the aviation industry, if a plane crashes, it's all recorded on this black box.
Yeah.
And so as soon as there's been a plane crash, you know, they then try and find this black box. Yeah. And the black box records everything, both the pilot talking or whatever. And I don't know the details, but you know
what went wrong.
And what went wrong. So the idea behind black box thinking is that the airline can then listen to this. I mean, the chances are there is no one to blame, because by then the pilot's dead anyway, potentially, you know. It's
pretty the optimist.
but the point is, the airline can then say, okay, what can we learn from this to make sure it never happens again?
Okay, yeah.
So that's what I try and instill in our companies. Let's not blame each other. Yeah. Let's acknowledge it's happened. And then what can we put in place so it doesn't happen again, so the business is never hurt in that way again. And it's changing that mindset. Yeah, definitely. I think maybe, you know, I'm not very good at percentages, but quite a high percentage of successes and failures are to do with mindset. Yeah. Dyson, the Hoover, I can't remember how many prototypes he made, but it was thousands of the things.
Yeah.
Before he got I can't say Hoover, a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
To do what his vision was,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, a lot of the time you're gonna have stuff not go right.
Mm-hmm. But it goes wrong in order for it to be right in the long run.
Exactly.
What advice would you, if you could go back and speak to your younger self, what advice would you give to your younger self?
So my husband and I joke about this, in that I'm sort of like, poor baby Rach, And I think the advice that I would go back to my younger self is to just give younger me a big cuddle and say, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Because actually, what's the worst that can happen? What is the actual worst that can happen? And a lot of people, if they're at rock bottom anyway, where else can you go?
Yeah.
So just give yourself a big hug, a big pat on the back for realizing it.
Yeah.
And I am a great believer in manifestation and visualization.
Yeah.
So if I think you had a chat with Hayley Sparks about this.
Yes. Yeah.
If you have a vision of where you want to be, and for me personally, it's about the emotion that's attached to that.
Okay.
About how it will make you feel if you achieve it. You've got to have a clear picture. So I would say to my younger self, or to anyone out there, if you don't know where you want to go, then how is anyone supposed to help you?
Yeah. And how are you supposed to help yourself to get there if you've got no idea?
Yeah, it's like looking at a map or asking somebody for directions and looking at the map and saying, well, how do I get there? Well, where are you going, love? Oh, I don't know. Well,
what are you asking me directions for?
But this is what we do with our lives. We
absolutely
blunder along without goals or an idea of where we want to go, and then we moan that we're not there.
Yeah.
So it's about being really specific of where you want to go. Create your vision board, whether it's a physical vision board or in your head.
Yeah.
And just focus on the positivity and
the feeling,
the vision, and the feeling of where you want to be.
Oh, I love that. What's up next, Rachel, for the Tiny Box Company?
Well, I had an accident.
Oh God, not something else.
So a friend of mine came to me last year, and she's got a great business, which is equestrian wear for the humans, not the horses.
Okay.
Jodhpurs,
human horseware.
Human horseware, exactly that. Yeah, and a great business model because it's all made out of sustainable fabric, recycled materials.
Yeah.
And the whole ethos is sustainability.
Yeah.
So I was doing my research and sort of looking into the whole sustainable sportswear market.
Okay.
And imagine my horror when I type in Google, sustainable and ethical sportswear. Oh, I've just got newspaper articles. Okay, let's try sustainable and ethical activewear. Oh, okay. Newspaper articles. Sustainable activewear. Newspaper articles. and it was like the Guardian top 10 small brands.
Okay.
And so I was like, well, how have we got to 2021 and there isn't a major player out there like JD Sports or whatever, but purely for sustainable and ethical activewear. So I was like, okay, fine, we'll do it ourselves.
Oh my God. Sure.
So we launch in March
Oh my God, that's so exciting.
Really scary. So
Ah,
we've taken all the small brands that are doing really well but don't have the voice,
yeah.
and we're bringing them under one platform.
Okay.
It's called Air Active.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea, it's not about making money, it's not about commercialism. It is about raising awareness and giving consumers the choice.
Yeah.
Because if you ask lots of people, well, why don't you buy leggings made out of recycled material? They say, well, where
Mm-hmm.
from? Where
Yeah.
am I going to get it from? You
Mm-hmm.
know, and the likes, be careful what I say, the large sportswear companies, a lot of them have sort of done lines
Yeah. The
that
odd
that
line,
are
maybe. Yeah.
that are sustainable or whatever, but they can't make too much noise about it, because by making noise they highlight that the other 99.9% of their brand is
Yeah.
anything but sustainable.
Yes. Yeah.
So I know so many women that are passionate about the environment, passionate
Mm-hmm.
about recycling and sustainability, but when
Yeah.
it comes to their activewear, it's like, well, what's my choice?
Yeah, exactly. But by you launching something new and fresh, then you're giving people a platform to do so.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
And on it, we're not telling people what sustainability means, because everybody's got different ideas.
Okay.
So we're going to have organic bamboo, organic cotton,
Mm-hmm.
stuff made purely out of recycled fabrics.
Yeah.
So the consumer can choose what sustainability means to them. And
Yeah.
on each one, we will have the country of origin. So if they only want to buy UK, they can.
Okay. Yeah.
If they're less worried about where it's made, but they want it to be made from recycled fishing nets,
Mm-hmm.
then they can.
Yeah. Wow. In fact, I know a couple of ladies that are really passionate about sustainability with activewear. So I'll have to tell them. One of the companies is a small brand. They like plant a tree, or forgive me, I'll probably get it wrong, to do with planting trees, and they're all about like reducing plastic and everything like that. So yeah. Are you taking on people at the moment, or have you got your quota already?
So the lady that came to me with the idea for her equestrian wear,
Yeah.
now works with me on this.
Okay.
I poached her.
Oh.
So she's still doing her own business, but
Mhm.
she's working with me on this, and we're sort of building a team around her.
Mm-hmm.
So
so exciting. Are you excited going into something slightly different? Have you had the monkey chatter yet?
I have the monkey chatter, but I just turn the dial down. But it's really interesting for me, because the lady that's doing it with me, she's from a fashion background. She did a fashion degree, and
Wow.
and a lot of the people that we're talking to in the industry, they're like, oh, risky doing a fashion business or whatever. And I'm like, but it's not. It's just another commodity. The fact that it's fashion doesn't matter. It's not fashion anyway, because the whole point is that it's slow fashion.
Yes, exactly.
But to me, it doesn't matter whether it's boxes or leggings. It's about getting the same message across.
It's the ethos that's deep rooted into your brand, isn't it? That's what it is about.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Right, Rachel, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I could literally talk to you all day. Lastly, where could you just tell people where they can find you, or the Tiny Box Company?
I was going to say Sussex.
Do you want me to give you my address? She says.
Tiny Box Company is www.tinyboxcompany.com. Air Active is AIRE active.co.uk. And at the moment, there's a holding page up with showing the number. It's a countdown for the number of days to launch.
Oh, it's exciting. Are you having a launch party?
We will be having a launch party, yes.
Exciting.
Would you like to come?
Oh my God. Yes, please.
Well, you're welcome to come. I'll send you an invitation.
Oh, what a bonus. I get to speak to you and I get a party invite. That's my night made. Bless you. Right, Rachel, I will say thank you so much for coming on. I really, really have enjoyed speaking to you, and it's been really insightful. And obviously everyone listening to this, they'll totally feel exactly the same as me. And you're such an inspiration to so many people.
Well, it's really kind of you to say so. Thank you. But well done you for running this. I mean, what a great achievement.
Thank you. It still feels a bit surreal, to be honest, but I'm so enjoying it, honestly. It's women like you that I get to speak to, and it's like it's just incredible to be able to talk and share stories, and like me and you sat side by side on the screen here. It's so incredible to know that obviously we've both had our rough times, but look at what you've achieved, and it gives me such a boost to be able to think, well, actually, you know, Rachel's been through so many horrendous times, and she's managed to get where she is. So it makes me think, you know, anything is possible. So I thank you for that.
It really is. You know, the limit is the limitations that we put on ourselves. But what's really interesting is the more people that I speak to in business, most people have gone through some horrific shite in one way or another, you know.
Yeah.
I was talking to an amazing business lady. You know, she'd set up a tech company in America, and it floated and everything else. Incredible story.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband bought a new car and killed himself in it, you know.
Oh my God.
And
what, by accident?
Yeah, by accident.
Oh my gosh.
But the point is, you know, that people never necessarily give away their stories, and you just think, wow, they're really a successful business person, look what they've achieved. And it's only when you start digging that you find nearly everybody has gone through some real tough times. And it's about supporting each other through that.
Absolutely. Absolutely, you're so right. Well, thank you so much, and I shall speak to you soon. I hope everyone's enjoyed the episode.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.